Hello, comic book junkies. It's the Frog Queen here, bringing you another creator interview. And today I'm going to be talking to Sophie Campbell. Sophie is a comic book writer and artist known for her indie comics such as Wet Moon and Shadow Eyes. You also probably recognize her artwork in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and, of course, IDW's Gem and the Holograms. And so without further ado from me, here is Sophie.
So how are you doing?
Good. I just got up like an hour ago. I locked my cat out of the bedroom, so that was nice.
Oh, yeah. It's always good to get rid of the animals because I find they like to barge through the interviews. I know a couple people I've interviewing had dogs. And the dogs would just be like, and like barrel through and it'd just be like, I wanted to hear your answer, but I guess I'm not going to today.
Well, my cat is in the room, but hopefully he'll settle down.
Oh, that's good.
And you might hear, like, he's not really vocal, but you might hear him galloping around and.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, it's all right if he decides that he needs to be in the shot. So I have like kind of a mixed bag of questions. I have fan questions that were submitted by fan.
Oh, that's cool.
And then I just have like my standard questions that I always ask everybody. Which my very first one, which I kind of already know the answer to, but I gotta ask anyway, is what are you working on currently?
I'm working on Ninja Turtles Universe. I'm doing 4 issues, and that's mostly what I'm doing right now. It doesn't come out until this summer,
Oh, okay.
but I like to get a head start.
Is it is that one? Because there's a couple different Ninja Turtle series running right now, I think.
Yeah, there's 2. There's like the main one, and then there's Universe, which is like kind of like side stories of all the characters that like are off doing other things and aren't in the main series, like that kind of thing. So I'm doing a story about Karai. Like I don't know if you know who she is, but
I know most of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle characters, except for some of the newer ones I don't know. Because I haven't been following the last couple years, so I don't.
Yes. Well, I didn't want to assume. So I'm doing. So it's about her in Japan, because she like when she left the series, like God, it seems like forever ago. The Foot Clan was in shambles and all blah blah blah, and so she fled. She fled to Japan with her mutant sidekicks. And it's about, what they're up to in Japan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's
it's going to be pretty good.
Are you drawing and writing it?
I'm drawing and, Universe that has backups, like every issue has like a 4-page backup. And I'm writing each issue's backup.
Okay. That's cool.
Yeah.
Okay. That kind of, like, leads me to, like, one of my other questions, like, because I know you do kind of both. You write and you illustrate. So, like, which do you prefer to do? Or would you just rather do everything all by yourself and not have that other creative person into your story?
I would definitely prefer to do it all myself, but, that doesn't always work, especially with licensed stuff. But I've been really lucky that all the writers I've worked with on stuff that's not my own, like we've all been really on the same page. I think I've gotten pretty lucky. Not for you, mister. All right. Yeah, but like, typically, even when the writer and I are like, like really in sync or whatever, there's still stuff I want to do. And, like I get kind of like, I wish we did that. And not that the writer's stuff is bad, but it's like, I still, I'm just like, I wish they could just like be friends in this scene instead,
Right.
Like that kind of stupid stuff, which doesn't work for the story, obviously. But I definitely prefer the writing side. I guess because it just like comes out so much faster, and I can like, you know, no. It's like, pay attention to me. But yeah, it comes out so much faster, and I can like write the dialogue and figure out who the characters are, which is like my favorite thing to do. And you know, like I can, like, yeah. Okay, I'm gonna close the door.
That's all good. It's just kind of funny.
He's got this tube thing that crinkles that he runs back and forth through. So that's what that noise was, if you can hear it.
That's awesome. Check my microphone. Here we go. There we are.
Yeah. So I like writing. You know, I can figure the characters out, and you know, I like writing them talking to each other, and I like, and you know, you can write a bunch of different stuff, like a bunch of different stories, whereas with art I can only really do one at a time because it takes so long to do.
Right.
And you know, with writing I can like, well, you know, I'll work on, you know, Turtles today, and then the next day I could be like, well, you know, I'm you know, bored of doing that, I'll work on Wet Moon, and then, you know, I can do all sorts of different stuff.
Do you find it difficult to switch back and forth between the different stories and the different characters when you're writing?
Oh yeah, definitely. Like I have a really hard time switching gears. And I just, yeah, it's like I can't juggle it.
I struggle with that too. Just even as like well, in my professional life I write software manuals, which is really boring. But I have to juggle between all these different kinds of programs and constantly switch gears. And I find it so difficult because your mind is in one place, you know, and then you've got to pull it out and put it somewhere else, and think all around, like all differently. But I find when I'm reviewing, I have a difficult time switching gears. Up from like I'll be reading one floppy by one person and then switch over to read the next issue of this other one, and I'm like, I don't even know, all these stories are combined now, so I can't imagine what writing a bunch of very, very different stories would be like.
Yeah, it's like you know, I'll work like the characters like speech styles will kind of bleed into each other. And it's like when I have too many things going on, it's like they all try to get through the door at once, and then I'm just like paralyzed and I can't get anything done. And I'm just like, oh, what do I, you know, like I don't know what to work on because I want to do these two things, you know. And so yeah, I really try to strip everything else away if I can. And even if it's like I don't do a lot of covers for other series because it's too distracting. Like even if it's just like one drawing, it's like in the back of my head, and I'm still kind of juggling that. I'm just like, I can't do that, and then like I'll lose an entire day of work because I'll do like a little bit on this one thing, like a little bit on another, and I just like can't manage it. It's stupid.
Aww. Yeah, I don't get the whole cover thing. When artists, you know, just do like a guest cover or whatever. When I was like, really young, I hated it. I hated it because I'd see this amazing cover and I'd open up and it was particularly bad because I read a lot of Marvel growing up. I'd open up this great comic book with this amazing cover, and I'd see like just this awful artwork inside and be like, ugh, why? Or
even if it's just different art, it doesn't, not necessarily bad or yeah, it's just like, oh, that's not the thing. The character doesn't look like this isn't bad, but they look different, or
yeah, exactly.
I don't know. But yeah, it's too distracting. Yeah, so I really try to streamline. It's hard sometimes, but yeah.
You mentioned Wet Moon, and I have a a couple questions actually from a fan named I'm gonna mispronounce his name, Enrico Murgia. I think I'm saying that wrong. Murgia. Anyway, I'm not good at pronouncing people's names. Anyways, he wanted to know what your approach was on Wet Moon, and if it has changed now that you're working on the series again compared to when you had started.
Oh yeah, for sure. God, this could be a really long answer.
That's okay.
But it's different because, like, when I started, back when I was like 24, something like that, it was like I didn't really know like what I was doing or what I wanted to do. It was kind of like, oh, here's a bunch of stuff that's funny or something. And it's like, oh, it was very much like more of like a goof off thing at first. It was like my first book. And I was like, okay, it's just going to be this book where like nothing really happens. It's just like, I guess nothing still happens in the series, but it was very like, I don't know, directionless, I guess, which isn't bad. I think that's what a lot of people like about it, because it's like really slice of life. But yeah, I had no idea like what I wanted, like where I was going to go with it or what I wanted to do. It was just like I would treat kind of like each book as its own thing, and I wouldn't know what the next book was going to be. And I feel like it's less of that now, which maybe is both good and bad. And another, like, I think a big thing is like the amount of characters. Like early on, it never occurred to me that I would have to like follow the characters. And so like in the first book there's like 20 characters or something. And then like with each book I was like, oh, I have to touch on so and so, or like, oh my god, like so and so wasn't in the last book, so I definitely have to put her in here, put her in the next book. And by volume 7, it's like I can't do everybody. And I regret introducing so many characters so fast.
Aww. Does that happen a lot? I feel like that must happen to a lot of writers too, like, because there are so many series that have like expansive character collections, you know what I mean? There's just so many people, and I'm sure like fans would write you and be like, why can't we hear more of so and so?
Yeah, totally. Like, yeah, like there, I'm trying to think, like, there'd be like this character Glenn, like I think it was either volume 4 or 5 where he's only in it for like 1 page, and then people would be like, well, can we get more Glenn? I was like, I'm trying, and it just like I can't do it. Because, like, and this kind of goes back to the writing and drawing thing. Like, if I was just writing it, I could totally do that. I could write, like, like every volume could be, like, 400 pages and have, like, every single character in it.
Yeah.
And with their own storylines and their own scenes, development and everything. But since I have to draw it, like, I can't do that. It's just not possible. Like, it's not possible, like, financially. It's not possible, like, 400 books or 400 pages. It would take me forever. And yeah, and that's like a whole other set of problems. But like, I think, yeah, that's one thing that I get really frustrated with. It had too many characters, and I wish that early on I made more of the characters like friends with each other, because like they started, like in the first book they kind of started off like together, and with each book they kind of like went off, and they all had their own little storylines, and I would just, you know, be like, oh, why did I do that? And then I have to jump back and forth between all these little storylines where like none of the characters are hanging out and they're all doing these other things, you know. And so with the last couple books I tried to kind of bring them back together so it's not like so complicated. And I think the main difference is that, like, since I've been doing it for so long now, I know more what I want to do. I know more about the characters and like who they should be, and there's much less like throwing things against the wall and seeing what sticks, which is like a lot of what the early couple books were, where I just like didn't really know, you know, like flying by the seat of my pants. So I guess those are like the two big differences.
Yeah. Do you find like you have like, you know, where they're going like a year from now kind of thing, like all your characters, or is it still kind of like up in the air how they're gonna end up kind of thing?
I still try to not plan too much.
Okay.
Like I'll have like a basic idea of like where they're gonna go, but like I always come up with new ideas, or when I'm writing something with like my original idea, like suddenly it will seem stupid, or I'll think of something better, like while I'm doing it. My cat just knocked something over out there. I'll check later. I'm trying to keep him off the kitchen counters, but nothing works.
Is he like new, like young kitty, or?
Yeah, he's like 6 or 7 months old.
Oh, okay, so that's why he's bad.
Yeah, he is a total nightmare. But a cute nightmare, so it's okay.
Oh wait, I do think I saw a photo or a video you released where like you were trying to watch television and he just kept pouncing on you repeatedly.
Yeah, that's what he does. That's what he does.
Okay.
It's just playtime all the time. Like, I don't know if you can see, but I have all these scratches and bite marks all over my arms.
Oh god.
Like he's not mean, but he just thinks, you know, like sometimes when he's attacking me, he'll just be purring.
Right.
He's just, you know, I don't know, he's just a jerk. He's just a, like, you know, tiny jerk kitten.
Well, it takes them a while to realize that they're hurting you too. They don't really get that.
And you know, I have spray bottles and, you know, tin foil on the counter, which doesn't seem to work. Yeah. So, you know, like everything is up high. I can't keep anything down low. But anyway, yeah. So, what was I talking about? Wet Moon.
So we were talking about Wet Moon, and yeah, just the different how you don't plan that far and everything else.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely plan more than I used to. Like, and I think it's kind of obvious. Like, I don't know, especially with some characters, like Audrey in particular. Like, she was like a really last minute addition in the comic, and I just, you know, I didn't really know what I wanted her to be. I didn't really know like what her style was, and then like in the second book she's like completely different, you know, and I was just like, I don't really care if there's consistent. I'm just gonna do it because this is what feels right for this particular character or whatever. Yeah, definitely more planning.
Nice. Okay, that's cool. I will ask you the next question, and I have to lead in to read this because my eyes are so bad. This is a complicated question. Okay, this is another one of Enrico's questions. Both in a practical, technical way, because now you're more experienced, and on a personal level, because after 6 volumes and so many years without working on it, Enrique imagines that it could be difficult maybe to pick up again where you left off. Did you find that?
Yeah, for sure. Like, in volume 6, like, I don't know, there was like 4 years in between 5 and 6, I think. I can't remember. It's all a blur. But like volume 6 was very different. Like I wrote it, and Trilby was gonna die originally from being attacked.
Okay.
And that was the plan for a long time. And then when I went back to working on it again, I was just like, I don't want to do that anymore. It's like that's too awful. It's too terrible. And I basically rewrote the entire book. And I had thumbnailed out the whole thing, like the original version where Trilby dies. And I just threw away like half the thumbnails, and I had them all like laid out on the floor in my apartment. I was like rearranging them and stuff like that. And I basically it basically went like I trashed the script, used the thumbnails, and then kind of wrote the script like after I had drawn the book. And I just kind of wrote dialogue as I went, kind of. And it was just like, it's totally different approach. And Wet Moon 7 was kind of the same way, because it's been even longer. And I wrote volume 7 like forever ago, it feels like. And when I started working on it again last year, I was just like, I don't want to do this anymore. This storyline, and like I cut like half the book out. Different characters end up with different characters as like what I had originally wrote. And this was another situation where I had thumbnailed out the whole book, and even drawn some finished pages that I got rid of. Because I've been working on it, like chipping away at it for years, and it's like I go back to it and like I'm a different person. I'm feeling different at different particular moments. Something will strike me differently. Why did I put that in there? That's stupid. Or think of something else, or I'll like something I put in even more than I did at the time, so I'll want to expand on that instead. It's definitely hard picking back up again, because it's like with my art, picking up the art again. The art side of it's not as difficult, but like with art, like I'll draw something and there's like kind of like a leeway period of a few months until I start hating it, so like with writing, the leeway is longer, but it's still there. So when I go back to it, it's just like, what was I thinking? Like, why did I write that? It kind of seems like somebody else did it. Like I'm reading somebody else's script. I'm just like, why did they do this? This is stupid.
That's so funny though. Like I'm so similar that way. I'm glad I'm not the only person that feels that way then.
It's definitely hard sometimes. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes I ease back in. Sometimes it's hard.
What mediums do you use when you're illustrating? Generally, what are kind of your favorite tools of the trade?
I definitely like digital right now. It's kind of like the writing thing that I was saying, where I can get it out like really fast, like not like rushing it, but if I have an idea, I can just do it like immediately. Mm. As opposed to like traditional stuff. If I have an idea, I have to get the paper out. I gotta,
there's some preparation involved.
I grab a brush. I'm like, oh, I didn't clean this brush the last time, so I have to clean the brush. I gotta put it all down. I gotta scan it. It's much less immediate. And I used to I don't know, like every book I've done has been different, like material wise. Like the first couple Wet Moons were ink. with like digital gray tones, and then the third book was pencil and marker. The fourth book was pencil and digital, and then Wet Moon 7 is going to be entirely digital. So yeah, it just depends. Like sometimes, like usually I'll do my Ninja Turtle stuff traditional because I can sell the pages and it's like getting paid twice.
Yeah.
And
sense.
I'll do those, like sometimes I'll do those in pencil, or like I'll vary it in the same issue. Like I did issue 66 back in December, and that one has pencil and ink in it. You know, like I'll vary it depending on the scene. If there's like a dream sequence or something, I'll change tools. So that's really fun. But yeah, right now I'm mostly doing digital. Like Gem was all digital. What else am I? Yeah, the current turtle stuff I'm doing is digital. I'm not doing those traditional because like the turtles themselves aren't in it, so it's like, you know, people won't want to buy it as much. But like if the turtles themselves are in it, I'll do it traditionally, unless it's like a rush job.
Oh,
but,
okay, I see what you mean. Interesting.
Yeah.
But I don't know, I think there's something to be said about those side characters. People, you know, kind of have their favorite side characters and like it when they get like a spotlight shone on them. And when I think about like some of like my favorite X-Men stories, for instance, because I'm a big X-Men girl, I think they're mostly these stories that are kind of about these side characters. I love Longshot. And like I don't know anyone who actually has read any of the old Longshot. They're pretty awful, I'm not gonna lie. But I love them anyway. So I would totally like be down to buy, you know, the originals of those, you know, those kind of quiet characters that only appear once in a while, you know, but anyway.
Yeah, and you know, I totally get what you mean. Like, you know, most of the time, my favorite characters are the side ones too. Like, my favorite X-Man is Marrow, okay. And like nobody likes Marrow, you know.
I don't know of anyone who talks about that character.
Yeah, she's like by far my favorite X character. But like, you know, with like, you know, the current turtle stuff I'm doing, it's like I feel like I've been doing it long enough where like I know what kind of pages people will want to buy.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And I'm just like, well, you know, like maybe there's some like, you know, Karai super fan out there that's gonna want to buy these, but you know, it's like I have to weigh it where like, do I do them traditionally and have to bother with all the scanning and blah blah blah, and hope that there's this, you know, this Karai super fan who comes out of the woodwork to buy these things,
right? Or
should I like, you know, save the time and hassle and just do it digital? Oh, and space is another consideration with traditional. You know, so if I did all these Karai pages on paper, I have to figure out a place to store them, like afterward.
Okay.
And I mean, like I have an art dealer, you know, like sometimes I'll send him things, but that's another thing. Like I have to mail him these big packages of paper.
Right.
Yeah. So, you know, so I try to weigh it and figure out like which is best. And like maybe I'll be kicking myself, you know, like later in the year, somebody's just like, oh, I want to buy all 4 issues in their entirety. You know, it's like, damn it.
Why? Yeah.
Yeah, like, passed up thousands and thousands of dollars, but, you know, this is how it goes.
Sorry, I do apologize. I've been blowing my nose a lot. I've just gotten over the flu, and I'm
That's totally fine.
Still really gross and disgusting, Amy over here. So
no, I don't mind. It's cool.
So what do you prefer doing? Your kind of work for hire or your creator-owned material?
Definitely creator-owned.
Yeah.
You know, I can control everything. Like, you know, I can do the scene where I was talking about before, like, oh, they'll just be friends in this scene instead. I can do that. But the licensed stuff is nice because, like, it's like I have to, like, you know, this, like, maybe sounds bad, but it's like I have to think about it less. You know, it doesn't mean that I care less or that I'm doing a worse job on it. Like, you know, like Turtles and Gem, like, you know, I love drawing that stuff, but it's kind of like somebody else is like has the wheel
right
a bit more, and I can focus on different things. It's just, yeah, it's like it's less energy, and you know, like which is both good and bad, I guess. But yeah, I definitely like going back to my creator-owned stuff, you know, like when each licensed job is finished. It's like it's almost kind of like each thing is a break for the other. Doing the licensed stuff is like taking a break from creator-owned, and doing creator-owned is like taking a break from the licensed stuff. So it's like each thing has its own pros and cons.
Cool. Enrico had another question.
Sure.
So he wanted to know why the hell nobody has hired you to do a Gamera book already, because apparently, and this is what he said, that's truly outrageous, and the pun was intended, he said.
Well, the reason for that is because nobody can get the Gamera license from Kadokawa.
Oh, yeah, that's right, eh?
That's the reason.
Yeah, okay. No, that makes sense. I was like, I should have thought of that. I could have answered that question.
Because if, you know, IDW or Dark Horse or whoever, if they got that license, I would be banging down the door to do it. I would not accept no for an answer. And so I think that's the reason. So maybe someday they'll get and that's also assuming whoever gets the license will want to hire me. But yeah, like I guess that's the main reason, is that there is no comic, there is no license. So unfortunately,
right.
Maybe someday.
Yep. Huh. That's interesting though. All right, now I go back to my questions.
Right.
My questions are more fun.
Thanks, Enrico.
Just joking. I'm not insulting Enrico. Sorry, Enrico. I'm not insulting your questions at all. They're very good questions. But I like to ask everybody the same kind of questions. I don't know why. I just do. Like, I was wondering what you're currently reading, if you're currently reading anything.
Oh God, what am I reading? I don't like just anything, like web comics and stuff too.
Like comics, novels. I don't know. What are you reading?
Oh, I'm currently in the middle of, like, I read a ton of true crime stuff.
Oh yeah.
And I'm currently in the middle of a book about Richard Cottingham, the torso killer, and that's pretty interesting.
Oh.
It kind of sucks because sometimes the author will include crime scene photos, which are a bit much for me.
Yeah.
Like, I'll just turn the page and then there's like a headless body. It's like, oh God. Oh,
Yeah,
I like true crime, but not that much.
I don't like that part of true crime. Yeah.
Yeah. So So that's what I'm reading right now, and I stopped reading monthly comics last year because so it's a stupid story, but I had a falling out with my friend who worked at the comic store.
Oh no.
And like I was just like, oh, I can't go back in there anymore. So I just like, went cold turkey.
Oh
and
my God.
I don't read any monthlies right now, which is fine. I don't really mind. I like getting the trades better.
There's a whole wave of people who just prefer to binge read, and I totally get that. I love binge reading, but I mean, as somebody who does reviews all the time, I can't just binge read. I have to read a certain amount of floppies, even if it sometimes makes me angry.
I don't know, it's just like kind of a dumb format. I don't like it.
Well, I mean, I understand, where it originated and why it needed, but I think now it's not really as, I don't know, viable for a lot of artists. I mean, I can think of pretty much any artist would much rather spend a year working on like their own, a graphic novel rather than a serial. Like pretty much anyone I know will be like, no, I hate working on monthly issues.
Yeah, it's stressful because like you have to pound this stuff out like every 25 days or whatever. And it's very like, for me anyway, it's like very stop and go. Because like, I'll finish a batch of pages and then I got to go back to thumbnails. Finish a batch of pages, go back to thumbnails. Like that. And that's kind of hard. And it's like people compare it to like TV shows where it's like, oh, it's the same kind of thing. Where like every episode ends on like a cliffhanger. But it's like watching a serialized show is like I guess the simplest way to say it is that it takes longer to watch the show.
Yeah.
And I feel like the monthly comics, like they get shorter and shorter. It's like 20 pages now.
Yeah.
And it kind of like warps the story because you have to have like, I feel like with TV shows, like they're not as worried about like cliffhangers because like a lot of those shows are like, contracted and like produced so far in advance, and like there's so many people involved that like not every episode has to be this like cliffhanger at the end. But with comics, everybody is like so frantic that they're going to get canceled.
Yeah.
And and you can get canceled in like a day and you're done. Yeah. And so like everybody's like every 20 pages you're like, okay, like it has to have like the best ending. It has to have this crazy, like everybody's like, no, please come back. And I just feel like it doesn't work for me.
And I think that's one of the reasons why I actually I've gone from someone who loves monthlies to hating them. And I think it's because of just how, like you said, how frantic people are at trying to get you in those 20 pages. Sometimes you're lucky and you get 30, 35 pages, not very often. Some Image comics are a bit longer like that, but but like it's affected the quality of the story. So I think I noticed this even with like writers that I've followed for years that are now writing, like you said, to like make sure at the end there's this big hook. And I'm just like,
I hate it, yeah.
And you're just like, what? Nothing fucking happened. Nothing happened. And then you're trying to like surprise me with some ridiculous thing at the very end. And then when you go to read like the next month's serial, they don't even really address whatever that stupid cliffhanger was. Like that has happened in so many series lately that I'm angry about it.
Yeah, like I just find it kind of like tiring.
Yeah.
And I just, like I don't regret not reading monthlies one bit. I don't miss it at all. I don't care. Yeah, and it's like and like even working on monthlies, it's like kind of exhausting cuz it's like I don't know. Yeah, it's like I don't. It feels like each issue is like over when I feel like I just got started or something. Yeah, it's like I don't get to sit with it as much as my own stuff. It's like like nothing marinates. It's always just like, really fast. And yeah, like everything is just go, go, go. Like in the stories and behind the scenes too. And I just, it gets tiring and it works for some people. I'm not saying that monthly comics are bad or that, I work on monthly comics, and like I think the stuff that I and my writers, and the writers do is good. But yeah, personally, I don't like to read them. I think the last comic that I bought was A Land Called Tarot by Gail Bertrand.
Okay, I've never read that.
It's so good. It's like the best comic.
Okay.
And that, it was running in Island, the Image anthology.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, and like, I don't know if Brandon Graham's ever going to listen to this, but like, I don't like that format. Because like...
The format of Island?
Yeah.
Island's over now anyway.
Like each, yeah. But like, like each story in that would be like less than a monthly. It would be like 8 pages or something.
Right.
I hate this. Like, are they just going to collect this one story that I like in this anthology? And they did. So it worked out.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Yeah, I hadn't read the last couple issues of Island, just because I had not been buying monthlies very often anymore, and such. But yeah, so I started reading the anthologies that they've been putting out, instead. But, yeah, I think with Island, they're very much trying to do this kind of, like heavy metal.
Yeah, which is cool. Right. And,
it's really difficult to do, unfortunately. Like you look at something like heavy metal that has been the history of the American English version of heavy metal. It's just had a insufferably awful like publishing history, and has gone from like monthly to bi-monthly to like 4 times a year. You know what I mean? Like over the years, they're like, okay, our sales are terrible. We're gonna put out one every quarter. And like they just kept changing it over the years, and because they kept changing, the magazine kept changing hands between all these like editors and contributors and stuff. It just like, it had some great times and it had some really shitty times. But it's so hard to make something like that float, where trying to keep people's attention like in that way, when you're got all these short stories that are kind of running and then ending and then running and then ending. And but
yeah, and it's cool because you can showcase all sorts of different artists who might not do like a full series or something, and with every issue of like Island, for example, it's like you didn't know what you were going to get, which is cool. And it can introduce you to people you've never heard of and stuff like that. But it's kind of like, for me, it's kind of like an ensemble TV show where there's always like a couple of characters that you really like, and the rest you don't care as much about.
Oh yeah.
And whenever they're on those other characters, I'm like, get back to these other characters. So that's kind of what it's like, where like I ended up like really gravitating toward this Land Called Tarot series, and I would get frustrated when I would get an issue where that didn't run in it.
Yeah.
I'd be like, where is it? And then I would like, check like which issues of Island it would run in, so I would like just get those issues, and I don't know. Yeah. So anyway, so that one is the last comic that I bought. It came out a couple months ago.
Nice. I will have to check it out. I haven't read that one.
It's super good.
And it came out as a trade from Image as well?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, no, I'll definitely check it out. Because I've read most of everything that's been on Island. Just the last little bit there. Also happened because I was paying debt. And was like, I can't afford to buy these every month anymore. Or anything, for that matter. But, what was the last question? What are your kind of like biggest inspirations, like from the world of comics? Like, who inspires you, either writing wise or art wise, alive or dead?
I think the person, Bill Watterson, Calvin and Hobbes, Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird with their old Turtles comics.
I love
like those really early ones.
So great.
Who else do I really like? Or who else inspires me, I guess? Amy Reeder.
Oh, yeah. She's great.
Erin Watson. I'm glancing at my bookshelf. I like Emily Carroll a whole lot.
Oh, I love her. She's fantastic.
Yeah, she's super good. I'm sure after this interview is over, I'll think of like a ton of people.
Are you doing any cons this year?
I don't think so. I was gonna do FlameCon again and maybe SPX, but after I got my cat, I was like, my mom would take care of him or whatever, but like, I don't think I want to leave him just yet. He's too little, and I don't know. The thought of like, being away from him for like 5 days or something. Not because he would destroy everything, but like, just like I don't want to go anywhere, and be away from him. So I don't know. Maybe New York Comic Con. I'm not sure yet. We'll see.
Cool. Awesome. Okay, well, thank you so much for finally doing this, and we finally made it happen. I know we tried a couple times, and I think I was moving, and I don't know, there was so much going on this last couple of months. We tried and failed, but we did it.
Yes, I'm glad we did. I'm sorry I took so long.
No, I think it was mostly my fault, honestly.
Well, because there was one weekend where like you were like, "Hey, you ready to go?" and like something came up for me. So I couldn't do it, and I don't know.
Honestly, It happens. It's the internet. It's always going to be there. I mean, hopefully. So we can always like make it happen as long as we're, still kicking.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks for having me, and I appreciate it. And thanks to Enrico for writing into with the questions. That was cool.
Yeah, he had like a literally like a page of questions. So anyway.
That's awesome.
All right, well, I hope you enjoy your day.
Yeah, you too.
And I will write you.
I hope you recover fully from your cold.
Thank you. I will write you when I put this up.
All right, cool.
Okay.
Sounds good.
All right.
All right, bye.